So hello guys and welcome again. We are here for another deck tech for the Bloomburrow. It has been weeks since the release of this new set of the standard format, and we know that some of the archetypes has somewhat stabilized and proven themselves to be very effective or still effective in the metagame. But for now, we'll take a look at the somewhat of a new version of a previous archetype, and I call this one with having the tricolor cards or the tricolor variety is the Naya tokens. So using this new version, I think I can reference this from personal experience of facing a Boros mid-range kind of tokens deck with War Leader's Call. But this time I somewhat formulated that we can go with adding a third color in the form of green and having access to this new card which we call as Balin the Haymaker. So it's a 3 to cast 4/3 Rabbit Warrior legendary creature. You can tap 2 untap tokens you control, add 1 mana, tap 3 untap tokens you control, you will draw a card, and then tapping 4 untap tokens you control, putting 3 +1 counters on Balin and having it Trampler. So basically a finisher on its own. But we go take a look of this build, which is almost formulated to be that of a variance of this version of having the 3 colors. So we're going to take a look at the creature lineup. So we have 9 creatures. The rest of the card types, we have 9 enchantments, 5 instants, 25 lands, and 12 sorceries. So going to go again with a grid view. As you can see here from the website architect.com, we have 9 creatures. We're basically using 4 Balin the Haymaker. Along with it are your 4 copies of Sandstorm Salvager, which is from the Outlaws of Thunder Junction Big Score special subset. So this card would probably produce a 3/3 colorless golem creature token, but the main thing is that having only these token effects would get you to have this ability that you can put some counters on this creature token you control and having them trampler. So in a way on its own, you can pump up your dudes or random 1/1s, making them 2/2 and having them more efficient and more deadlier and damage output. And for that, we have also a lone copy here which makes your late game very profitable. This is Order Tack from Lost Caverns of Ixalan. Order Tack Tibis Foundation is a 6 mana 6/6 creature with that ability that if one or more creature tokens will be created, 3 times that many of those tokens are created instead. So very much good value. And on its own, it's very resilient because when it dies, you will return it to the battlefield, tap and transform, having it turn into a Temple of Civilization, which you can just again pay 3 tap to transform it, only if you have 3 or more creatures that attack this turn. So given that you have going with the tokens variance, it's not that hard to go with having this card transform back and flip it back into Order Tack as a good 6/6 threat on its own with Vigilance. Now let's go to the enchantment lineup here. As I mentioned, we have War Leader's Call. So War Leader's Call is now your way to do somewhat of a indirect damage output, because having this trigger that you can deal 1 damage to its opponent whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, and having also an random effect to pump up your tokens. So that is 3 copies in the deck. They've also considered 2 copies of Virtue of Loyalty. So this Wild Soul Drain Mythic could also create you 2/2 white creature token with Vigilance for 2 and having to hardcast it, or you can play it from adventure, putting also some counter range creature you control and untap those creatures. So again, very efficient early game and also a mid game to late game card value. Now for the new card that's also added here, we have Caretaker's Talent. So this card, the enchantment class which has returned in the Bloomburrow set, has this ability that whenever 1 or more tokens you control enters, you will draw a card and only trigger once its turn. And then having this act as a level 2, you can create a token that's a copy of target token you control. So in an instance, its good target would be the colorless golem artifact creature token, much more so of other tokens such as your 2/2 white knight creature, and having another copy of it, which can also, of course, leveling this up would also trigger this ability of drawing you a card and somewhat refilling your hand. And the late game setup is that you can pay for to have your creature tokens you control gets +2/+2. So in a way, very good card advantage, having also an anthem effect to get your token engine drawing. Now we've also chosen this instance because we know that going with the mid game is one of your main features. So as you would need to really survive in the early matchup against the other aggro decks. So we have Torch Tower as an efficient 1 mana cost removal. It can go also ahead with additional 3 damage if you have sacrificed or you can bargain it. Means that sacrificing a token will also have this spot removal more efficient, and also having them to exile those cards or permanents deal damage by Torch the Tower. At the same time, we have 2 copies of Yet Lost, very efficient against creature enchantment, of course, planeswalkers, wherein most of the planeswalker matchup would be really hard to deal with. And the good thing is that we can already have a main deck spot removal to answer them. Before we get to the land setup, we'll take a look at the 12 sorceries in the deck. So again, we had 4 copies of each of these token producers, which is very, of course, very efficient in the late game. So we have 4 copies of Awaken the Woods. So this now has begin subpar card, still very expensive, but it has not yet seen some gameplay in the recent tournaments or maybe in the archetypes posted. So I've decided to consider this one again in the deck of this version of Naya tokens. So we have 4 copies of this. Creating this 1/1 Green Forest Dryad tokens are considered to be also a ramp to your own, which you can ramp later on for a huge stock of token cans, which can also create these 1/1 black creature tokens and having them haste, which can be at the same time attack this the turn they were enter the battlefield. And much more very efficient now with we can have Warrior's Call or level 3 Caretaker's Talent in play, making them very efficient and can attack for huge chunks of damage. Along with also is a variant of a support card, which we have here is the Season of the Burrow. It can act also as removal by exiling target non-land permanent and having them draw a card, but also can produce other tokens on its own by creating up to 5 1/1 creature token of the rabbit, and also can have a good return or recursion effect by return target permanent card with mana value 3 or less from graveyard to the battlefield with undisable counter. So in instance, it is also very good to have in the deck. And the sorcery considered here is Sunfall, because we need also some sort of a sweep removal, because again we are going with the mid game kind of setup. And also it goes with advantage to your side, because in instance that you have already placed your tokens, you can just cast it for exiling those creatures, and the Incubate X would also benefit you because of the number of creature that was exiled, including your tokens, would also have you a big protection counter that you can have after those incubation. And for your lands, again, we have some good division, because the current sign of checklands is very aligned to our 3-color setting. So we have these cards, the Vantage, the Couplet Gorge, and Razorverge Ticket, to make sure that your early turns will not really get you some untapped lands or tap lands, to have you a good curve up to your 3-color requirement. And along with it, of course, are your Plainlands, Battlefield Forge, Carpusan Forest, and some of the basics. We can also consider copies of the Restless Berry, which is again goes with benefiting your tokens, because creating this manland, activating it into a 3/3 llama would get you to have this pump effect that other creatures control gets +1/+1 until end of turn. And we have also a lone copy of Mirex here, which can also benefit you. As it enters the battlefield, you can have this 1 mana color mana fix. In your late game, would also consider creating this colorless Phyrexian White tokens, which can also trigger Warrior's Call, also benefits from these other pump effects that you have here in your enchantment lineup. And last but not the least, we check on the mana curve. It is going 2.86, but do take note that your sorceries here would be really efficient in the late game, as more mana would be required to have them cast, and more of these tokens can be produced to your board. Color distribution is mostly on white. We have 29, and covered next are your green with 16 and 14 for red, but I think the producers are pretty much even, as it can deliver a good mana fix without any issue whatsoever on the mana pool that you can have on your early games. So we have 25 lands in total to do that mana fix. And I think that's pretty much it for this deck. We have again tokens as somewhat of a mid-range deck as you can consider on your next gameplay for MTG Online or MTG Arena standard format. Again guys, and thank you for watching this deck again for your Bloomburrow standard. If you have questions and comments, just let me know in the comments box below so we can have a discussion on them. Again guys, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and see you guys on the next video.